Breaking news. According to multiple reports, Venezuelan leader Nicolás Maduro has been captured following a U.S. strike in Venezuela. Images circulating online appear to show a detained individual under heavy security, as authorities reportedly transferred him to a detention facility in the United States.
How did Operation Absolute Resolve unfold? At a press conference earlier on Saturday, U.S. General Dan Kane provided details on how the United States carried out its operation in Venezuela and captured President Nicolás Maduro. According to officials, air, ground, maritime, space, and intelligence forces coordinated for months to plan the mission. At 10:46 p.m. Eastern Time on January 2nd, former President Donald Trump authorized the operation. Operation Absolute Resolve involved the launch of more than 150 aircraft from 20 different military bases across the Western Hemisphere. At 1:01 a.m. Eastern Time on January 3rd, an extraction force made up of helicopters and ground teams approached Maduro's compound in Venezuela to capture him and his wife. The operation was supported from the air by F-22 and F-35 fighter jets, F-18 aircraft, B-1 bombers, surveillance planes, and drones. During the mission, helicopters came under fire and one aircraft was hit, but officials say it remained operational. At some point after 3:39 a.m. Eastern Time, Nicolás Maduro and his wife were transported aboard the USS Navy vessel USS Iwo Jima.
How has Venezuela reacted? Vice President Rodriguez on state television appealed for calm and unity, called for the release of Maduro, who she said was the only president, and added that Venezuela would never be a colony of any nation. Late Saturday, Venezuela's Supreme Court ruled that Rodriguez should assume the role of interim president, though it is not clear whether she has taken office. Earlier on Saturday, Trump said Rodriguez had been sworn in as president and had spoken to U.S. Secretary of State Marco Rubio and told him, "We'll do whatever you need," Trump said. "She really doesn't have a choice," Trump added. The country's defense minister, Vladimir Padrino Lopez, earlier claimed the strikes hit civilian areas and said the government was compiling information about dead and injured people. He added that Venezuela would resist the presence of foreign troops. Venezuela's government issued an official statement denouncing the extremely serious military aggression by the U.S. on Venezuelan territory and population in civilian and military locations. It also accused the U.S. of threatening international peace and stability and described the attack as an attempt to seize Venezuela's strategic resources, particularly its oil and minerals, in an attempt to forcibly break the political independence of the nation. What will happen to Venezuela next? During Saturday's news conference, Trump said the U.S. was going to run the country until such time as we can do a safe and proper and judicious transition. Asked by reporters about Venezuela's opposition leader and 2025 Nobel Peace winner Maria Corina Machado, Trump said she did not have support or respect. Earlier on social media, Machado had said the hour of freedom has arrived and called for Edmundo González Urrutia, who, according to vote tallies released by her party, won the 2024 election, to assume power. Trump also said American oil companies would move in to fix infrastructure and start making money for the country. He said, "We're going to be taking a tremendous amount of wealth from the ground, which would go to people in Venezuela and to the U.S., adding, "We're going to get reimbursed for everything we spent." He also said the U.S. would sell oil to other countries. Asked whether U.S. troops would be deployed to Venezuela, Trump said, "We're not afraid of boots on the ground." What has Maduro been charged with? U.S. Attorney General Pam Bondi said Maduro and his wife, First Lady Celia Flores, had been indicted in the Southern District of New York.
They have been charged with conspiracy to commit narco-terrorism and import cocaine, possession of machine guns and destructive devices, and conspiracy to possess machine guns and destructive devices against the U.S. They will soon face the full wrath of American justice on American soil in American courts, Bondi wrote on X. Who is Maduro, and why has he been captured? Nicolás Maduro rose to prominence under the leadership of left-wing President Hugo Chavez and his United Socialist Party of Venezuela. He succeeded Chavez as president in 2013. In 2024, Maduro was declared winner of the presidential election, even though voting tallies collected by the opposition suggested that its candidate, Edmundo González, had won by a landslide. He has been at odds with Trump over the arrival of hundreds of thousands of Venezuelan migrants in the U.S. and the movement of drugs into the U.S., in particular fentanyl and cocaine. Trump has designated two Venezuelan drug gangs, Tren de Aragua and Cartel de los Soles, as foreign terrorist organizations, and has alleged that the latter was led by Maduro himself. The U.S. had offered a $50 million, £37 million reward for information leading to Maduro's arrest. Maduro has vehemently denied being a cartel leader and has accused the U.S. of using its war on drugs as an excuse to try to depose him and get its hands on Venezuela's vast oil reserves. In recent months, U.S. forces have also carried out more than 25 strikes in international waters on boats it alleges have been used to traffic drugs into the U.S. More than 100 people have been killed.
Yesterday, President Donald Trump shared images showing U.S. officials watching airstrikes on Venezuela, describing the operation as like a television show. Early on Saturday morning, explosions were heard across Caracas as the United States launched a large-scale strike. Fires broke out and smoke rose above the capital. President Trump confirmed that Venezuelan President Nicolás Maduro and his wife Celia Flores had been captured. Venezuela declared a national emergency and deployed its military forces, calling the attack an act of armed aggression. Maduro and his wife were later flown to the United States and transferred to a detention center in New York. The question now is how these dramatic events will shape the future of Venezuela and the wider region. For now, this is all the information available. Please stay tuned for further updates. Thank you for watching. Stay safe.